We are back on Undisputed today, using my favorite fighter, Terrence Crawford. Definitely my favorite boxer to use. He has a lot of key attributes I like to use, like the jab, good movement, great counter striking, and punches and bunches. He has really, great perks, attributes, stats, pretty much everything that fits the way I like to play the game for the most part. But the video was mainly about how styles like this can be viable still. In the fight, you're really going to watch, the person's throwing probably about 3 to 4 piece combos most of the time, and most of them are power. And he's whiffing a decent amount of these punches. And I'm hitting his body. I'm using the jab more to try to preserve stamina because I'm just getting back into playing the game. Yeah, but you see, this is what I'm talking about. Amir Khan just hits me with one uppercut. Pretty much the first punch to my head in the entire game, and he flash knocked down my Terrence Crawford somehow. Stuff like this is very frustrating because, you're giving people that don't know how to play the game chances to beat people that they don't really have the skills to beat. That doesn't really happen in boxing. It happens in MMA sometimes, where maybe like underestimating your opponent or things like that, but not really in boxing. Usually there's a big skill gap between set fighters. That more skilled boxer is going to win a majority of the time. Can't run from boxing for the most part. What I mean is, you can't kick. You can't work punches out of the clinch. Can't kick someone's leg to slow them down. It's just your hands, of course. But, I just wish they would fix this where people start spamming, hooks. Whether it be body hooks, head hooks, and without consequences. I'll compare it to UFC 5. Like, say if he threw, like, the same combos, right? Like a 3 or 4 piece and just constantly throwing with no short-term stamina. If I was to hit him in UFC 5, he would get rocked and knocked down instantly, or even flash KO'd. But in this game, it lets people throw without short-term stamina and, with no regard to stamina, with no punishments, like, at all. Like, I'll start punishing him in the fight, but at that point, it's so late in the fight, and it takes so long to hurt somebody that's tired and doesn't even have any stamina. It just becomes very boring to play. Like, you work a patient game, you tire someone like this out, and, you're in round, let's say, 6, then you end up getting gassed for punching him endlessly for about maybe 2 rounds straight, and he's still not getting hurt as often as you need. And sometimes you might end up losing a decision, to somebody that's just basically button mashing every time you get near them. This game has input delay, so you can't like instantly react to everything people do in the game. So it's not as easy as just, walk in, pull. Because with UFC, it's instant. There's no input delay at all. But here, this game has a lot of input delay. So, that's something I got to get used to again. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think too. Your opinion matters as well. I just don't like styles that are noob friendly, that are effective somehow. I'm not saying this guy could be anybody, but this guy should definitely be getting punished way more than he is. Punches like that are still happening. It's funny because it happened against multiple Amir Khans, but you see how he's throwing power punches and sometimes like a double overhand. I don't even see them sometimes because the animation doesn't even play out the right way. And it's like if he didn't throw a punch, but I'm getting hit at the same time. Right there. See, like he's throwing overhand and just the animation doesn't fully play out, but he's still, landing on me. So, it's just annoying to see some of the same problems I had with the game still be here, 7 months later, 6 months later, however long I took a break for. But let me know what you guys think about people that just, hook spam or, just pretty much spam combos and they don't get punished. Now, I feel like body damage is, like, less effective in this new patch. So, I don't know why that is. But I remember if I would land, let's say, a counter shot with Terrence or anybody, and I would land maybe 2 or 3 more body hooks, I would usually be able to stun you if they landed properly without you answering back. Now, oh my god, I be landing so many body shots on people that just refuse to block the body as often as they should, and nothing happens. No damage, no nothing. But yeah, that's pretty much what this video is about. You know, I just wanted to see if anybody else is annoyed and frustrated by, you know, people just being able to button mash like it's Mortal Kombat in a game that was advertised as a immersive simulation boxing experience. This is not what I feel. You know, the fact that I feel more sim in UFC 5, you know, UFC 5 has a lot of issues too, you know. Not a perfect game. That's the only other current combat game out as of right now for the most part, because anything else that's out is really old. So I'm going with whatever's out currently. That's just UFC 5 and Undisputed so far. Hopefully some more contenders come in for new boxing games so we can see, you know, who could do it the best. At this point, I might even give EA a chance with their new Fight Night game, because, you know, if they could barely fix one issue that they caused 6 months ago with 6 months of time, I mean, by the time the game starts getting semi-decent, Fight Night Champion is going to be out. So this is why I always would like them to come out with updates more frequently and fix the game as time goes. You know, I just would love to see them be successful. You know, I would love to see the game with none of the issues I was mentioning. And there's more, you know, but I haven't been playing consistently, so I can't remember every issue. You know, I'm returning to the game myself. But if this game is like fully polished out with all the problems fixed, I feel like this game can be the best boxing game. But it's up to the devs. It's up to everyone that works at Steel City Interactive to, you know, fix the game and give us a sim experience. And if they don't do that, I'm not buying another part 2. I'm not buying DLC. You know, for that, I'll just go to EA and play their Fight Night game that's coming out in like 2 years. I'd rather like go and do that. But in the meantime, I'll still play Undisputed and do content on it, you know, because I love combat games. So this is the only boxing game we got. So, you know, it's in a state where I could still, you know, have some fun as far as in, you know, just play some quick match, get a few videos or a few fights for some videos, and that's it. It's pretty fun to me still. But since I'm a competitive person, it's hard to see like casual gamers getting their hands held and having the game made easy for them. Never like things like that. For example, one game I used to love playing ranked on was Rainbow Six Siege. You know, one of the most competitive tactical shooters pretty much on the market. And every time I got better, I would get a higher rank. It was simple as that. There was no body. I mean, you had your Cronus, you know, where people would just have like no recoil or mouse and keyboard, but there wasn't like game-breaking exploits that you could do within the game besides that to get yourself wins. So it was a very skill-based game from when I remember it. That's how I want this game to be, you know. Same for USC. USC's not even at that state yet. They have that clinch spam and a ton of grappling exploits. So, you know, both games definitely need to do a lot of work to make the game fun in a competitive way also. You know, with still, look at that. I just got Ghost Punch twice. And that change with the block where, you know, you're not supposed to have your hands up as often. How am I supposed to do that when I'm getting punched across the ring? You know, you're expecting me to have my hands down, trust my distance. Why make that change before fixing desync? So I was just getting punched across the ring because I thought I was safe. You know, he wasn't at the right distance, and he still hit me twice. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Yeah, these are a lot longer gameplays because, wow, I forgot. I'm used to editing my like USC 5 gameplays. Wow. Usually I can get like, I think like what, 6-7 fights in a video for like USC 5. Depending if I'm using a grappler, I'll probably get more. And it'll probably equal out to like 8-12 minute videos. I like to stick to that, short and sweet. But, I want to get some Undisputed content because I know some of my subscribers are fans of, Undisputed. So, I definitely want to have content for, everybody. So, yeah, I'm still trying to use my jab for the most part. It is round 5 here, and he's still overthrowing. Look at that. He just throws, like, multiple power hooks, and then, like, 2 of them didn't even come out. But we're trying to take the game for what it is. A bit of a mess. But, my channel is also to speak about ongoing issues, too. I don't want to present, the game like it's perfect. Same thing with USC. If I do run into people that spam in my videos, I complain about it, too. So, I'm fair with all the games I play. Not every game is going to be perfect. That's why we need to give them criticism. And we got to push back. Make the game better. Maybe if they don't make a certain amount of money with their DLC, they'll focus on gameplay changes. I'm talking about Steel City, of course. But everyone that went out and just bought these boxers, it's just supporting, bad devs. A bad team that's not doing the right thing. I remember Ash Habib came out with the interview saying, yeah, we can't come out with the fighter robes yet. We gotta focus on gameplay and all of this. And it was very refreshing to hear, a dev and, the CEO of the company saying he wants to focus on gameplay only and not, put DLC and things like that in front of gameplay changes. But he's done the exact opposite. These DLC packs are getting pushed out faster than gameplay changes. I mean, we're seeing like 20 boxers added, $40 worth of content, and we still don't even have a head movement change. It's not, you can't even slip and throw a strike. So, I just hope they could really change the way they're doing things. But, hey, we could hope. I heard Turkey Al-Sheikh is making a boxing game too. That's somebody who invested $20 million into Steel City Interactive. And if he kind of went off and did his own game, kind of goes to show you what kind of faith he has within this dev team. Still landing on counter shots. Trying to use a jab. I'm not trying to use a lot of hooks. I was using a bit more hooks than I should have because I was used to UFC. I haven't played this game for a while. I'm trying to get him tired before I start opening up because I know he's close to getting tired. That's another thing I think that could be a good fix. Make it so quick match, and even at the very beginning of ranked, it should be defaultly 10 rounds instead of the 8 we get right now. Because it's just not fair, because if he's able to do this for 6 rounds, right? So think about it like this. He could be winning, he could be up, even though he might not be. Then I go in and look, then I'm going to start trying to knock him out because, I'm landing my shots. I'm landing all these body shots. I'm landing head shots, power shots. He's gassed with Amir Khan, someone that's infamously known for bad durability. And I can't hurt him with Terrence Crawford. He's going to sit here eating power shots, body shots. It's just ridiculous, And what if I needed to knock him out for the win? And, you're going to tell me that it's going to take me like 3 rounds of him being gassed for me to actually knock him down consistently? That's a bit unacceptable. Just like Proxys said, what's the point in being gassed if you're not, going to get rewarded for it? For that, why not just throw power shots with this guy? Why am I going to play more tactical if I don't even get rewarded for playing like a realistic boxer? Not every boxer is just going to sit there and start exchanging combos. That's not what my fighter is. If I was Canelo, yeah, of course, that's what you want to do. That would actually work to my, advantage. But, Terrence Crawford's more of a counter striker, using the straights, the jabs. And he doesn't really have a great gas tank, so I don't want to, use up all my cardio so quickly, because we still have 2 more rounds. And he's throwing a lot of power, so, if he starts spamming power, even when he's tired, he's still very dangerous. But this is said with all love, of course, because, you know, I want the game to be successful just like everybody else. Just like everyone else, we all put down that $80, $90. So, yeah, look, it's still a relatively close fight. If he's gas and throws a power right, knocks me down, he could run away the rest of the fight and win the match. You know, that's my main issue with how the game is and what it doesn't punish. Like, look, he's no stamina, eats a nice power shot. Like, I just don't get it. But then you look in the beginning of the fight, you know, we're both full stamina, full head health, and one uppercut drops me. But yet, I cannot hurt him right here. That just doesn't make sense. And I still have problems with hit detection a little bit. It's not as much as it was before. Yeah, I just started spamming him. He started standing still. I was just trying to get him out of there. Yeah, but we're able to knock him down. But I feel like it should be a lot easier to do this. And you want to know why you make it easy, you might ask, is because you're going to want to punish people who are not preserving their stamina. You want a sim game and you want people to play a certain way. You got to reward people. And you got to punish people that are playing like that and reward the people who are playing smart and realistic and actually boxing. Using the jab to set up things and preserving their stamina the first few rounds, you know, in anticipation to going to like a long distance, but just don't get rewarded as often as you should. So, you know, like, let's say if he was up and I wasn't able to hurt him, which this has happened to me before. It's been situations just like this. You know, thank God I'm able to hurt this guy now, but, you know, it's not enough. He was already eating more than enough. And look, he's able to walk away from me, like, for the most part, but we got him anyways because he decided to throw punches. But he's able to, like, get away from me. I don't even know how. I'm in adrenaline mode, and he's gassed with no stamina, and he's rocked, and he's still getting away from me. You know, but they addressed, like, us hitting people while stunned, so, like, you're able to drop them more, but they didn't address people sliding away from you. You know, that's cost me fights. I had this fight where it was against Lomachenko, where, like, one drop was going to win me the fight, and if I didn't get it, it was going to cost me the fight, right? And what ends up happening is I rock him with, like, the last, like, minute or two in the 8th round. He literally, like, slid away from me faster than I could catch him, and he recovered and won by, like, a point or something. So, yeah, it's annoying when a flawed mechanic or something that's not working correctly costs you the game. Even though it is a quick match and there's not really, like, ranks on the line, it's frustrating, you know, because that's something that should have been. They had, like, multiple years of being in beta. They've had plenty of time to fix out all these smaller things I was complaining about, especially stamina. You had years and years of beta access. You should have found a good balance, you know, between stamina, punishing people for spamming. But like I said, we can only hope and wait. There's no other competition as of right now. You know, the leaks are saying probably 2027 to 28, we're going to get Fight Night. So, you know, just seeing how Steel City is, it seems like since they don't have any competition, they're just giving us nothing and hoping we just accept it. So, sad to see that they went this route. I had a lot of faith in this company when they were coming out all the interviews, trying to get our pre-order money. They sounded like really cool gamers. Like, they sound like gamers themselves. I was like, yo, this dev team has some real potential. And they ended up being just like EA or just like any other AAA studio, giving us DLC, not fixing our problems we are desperately, you know, complaining about. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video.